I'm your host, Jenny Turpin, and today I'm delighted to introduce you to Holly Brandenberger, a registered nurse and certified aromatherapist. Holly is the founder of Science of Essentials, a popular online resource that provides education worldwide regarding aromatherapy and holistic health. Today, Holly is going to be talking about aromatherapy, a natural way to manage pain and reduce stress and anxiety. Welcome, Holly. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you, Jenny. I am so honored to be here. And I also wanted to say thank you for all that you do in the world, because you are just spreading such beautiful words of wisdom and support and encouragement for so many people. And I feel like you need a huge thank you as well for that. I love everything that you share.
Oh, thanks, Holly. That's so kind. Before we kick off on your questions, do you want to start by sharing a little bit about your story and how you got to be doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, sure. So I feel like everyone in life has these stepping stones that kind of lead you on the path that you're supposed to go. I always, as a kid, I remember always having a really strong sense of smell and just loving smells around me. I grew up on a Christmas tree farm. So maybe that's kind of where this was planted within that seed within my soul. But I always loved to smell the trees, and they reminded me of home and my parents and just so many happy memories. And I didn't really think too much about it as, I was growing up, but I started going to nursing school. I graduated from nursing school. I went on to get a graduate degree, and I was starting to work at bedside with patients. And we used aromatherapy in my hospital. So this was 15 years ago, which is kind of unheard of at that time. It's much more common today. And there was no education about it. Really, we only had lavender and peppermint. And we didn't really know how to use it as nurses. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't even really know anything about it. All we knew was that lavender was calming to patients and peppermint covered up bathroom smells. That's all we really knew. And I met my husband and we moved to Seattle, Washington, and I started making soap, and I just loved making a lot of handmade products. And I would use essential oils that were likely not the best essential oils. They were likely synthetic, that I didn't know better at the time. And I didn't know much about them other than that. And when I had children is when it really started to kind of light this fire within me. I have 3 kids, and I noticed when they were sick that there was nothing I could really do for them or help them in any way. And as a nurse, we just want to help. That's we want to give them something. We want to help them. We want to make everybody feel better and as comfortable as possible. That's just the nurse within me. And I was I'm going to try some essential oils and see if that will help when they're congested. So I started using some eucalyptus, and maybe I'll use a little lavender to help them sleep. And I noticed it worked. And I was just amazed by it. I noticed that my kids just seemed, they weren't, bickering and fighting as siblings do as much when we were using essential oils. I noticed my husband started sleeping a lot better during the night when I was diffusing. So then I just started thinking, well, why? Why are these working? I have a bachelor's in science degree. I want to know the science behind them. So I really started digging into all of the research studies, all of the chemistry of essential oils, reading books nonstop. I still am reading research articles every single night before I go to bed. That's my pleasurable reading, which I know makes me kind of a nerd in a way, but I just fell in love with the science behind it. And that's when I started just sharing the science with those who wanted to hear it, and sharing how they work within the body, how they are created, what they are actually contain, and how that just helps support us naturally. And that kind of just led to what I do now. I'm an instructor through the School for Aromatic Studies now. So I teach aromatherapy certification courses, and I've written books, and I feel just so compelled to just continue to share it with the world, because it's helped me and so many other people in so many different ways.
That's such an inspiring story. I had that, and that's just amazing that in the hospital 15 years ago, they started.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. And then that you use it with the children. That's just brilliant. And I can really feel the passion you feel about what you're doing, which is, what's coming through most of the speakers as well, is they're really passionate about the natural solutions that they've found. Just quickly, for somebody who's tuning in and doesn't really know what a lot about oils, what does aromatherapy actually mean?
So, aromatherapy is the use of essential oils to support health and healing within the body. So, aroma comes from, the word to smell. Everything in nature, has an aroma. It's contained of aromatic compounds. So, you go outside and you smell, a peppermint leaf. That can be actually considered aromatherapy. Essential oils, though, are taking plant matter that is either, flowers or fruit or the rind of fruit or the roots or wood, any part of a plant, and steam distilling or expressing it. And from there, we get very potent bottles of essential oils. So it's very concentrated amount of that plant matter that we can actually use then to help support the body therapeutically.
Fantastic. So we know what it is. We know what aromatherapy is. How can it actually help when it comes to pain?
Oh, I love that question because this is where aromatherapy really shines. Pain relief, supporting pain, supporting stress is like the pillar of aromatherapy practice. There's a reason why in the last 5 years, the research on utilizing aromatherapy for pain has just increased immensely. And there's a reason why a lot of hospitals now, 15 years ago, it was kind of rare that you saw aromatherapy in a hospital, but now it's very common to see aromatherapy in hospitals, in the emergency room, post-operatively, pre-operatively, labor and delivery, palliative care, hospice care. There's so many different areas of the hospital now that utilize aromatherapy. And it really comes down to the two definitions of pain. So what we know about pain is it is defined as an unpleasant sensation and the emotional response to that sensation. So what's cool about aromatherapy is it addresses both of those, not only the unpleasant sensation, but also that, unpleasant emotional response to that sensation. So, pain is just this mind-body connection. And when we're in pain, we know it affects our emotions. We become irritable. We become, crabby. We become more stressed. We don't sleep. A lot of people will become especially depressed when they're just dealing with pain. It's hard to be happy when you're not feeling good and your body's holding on to all this tension, but also can go both ways. So if we are stressed or irritable or anxious or overwhelmed, our body becomes more in pain. Our body holds those emotions and that stress in various different ways. So many health conditions are either caused or made worse by stress. And pain is a huge one, arthritis, back pain, endometriosis, colitis, Crohn's disease. There's so many different health conditions that are exacerbated by stress. Women in particular, we store our stress in our neck, our shoulders, and our hips. Those are the three main areas. When we're stressed, those muscles contract, and that prolonged contraction leads to tension. So because pain is just this huge mind-body connection, aromatherapy can really help not only, soothe those areas of pain, but also help relax the mind. And if we use aromatherapy, incorporating it into our lifestyle to help reduce that stress and even, promote sleep, for example, those are key factors in helping just manage the pain.
So if somebody comes to you who's in pain, you've talked about the mind-body connection. So you're saying, pain is an unpleasant situation and there's an emotional response. What would you start with first in terms of essential oils? Which essential oils are good for pain? And do you start with the pain or the stress that's behind it, maybe?
This is such a good question because I talk about this a lot, is that when we're addressing pain, don't always, especially when it's exacerbated by stress, don't always think of just that physical manifestation of the pain. A lot of us think, because a lot of us have been just programmed to think, we want this quick Band-Aid. We want to take, this over-the-counter medicine, this ibuprofen to help with that pain, that headache that we're having. But then that headache comes back tomorrow because we're still stressed, right? So we want to kind of address both of them at the same time. And thankfully, essential oils can do both. They can not only help kind of support that area of pain, but also help support that stress. So we can choose essential oils. So there's a couple of different ways. Essential oils work physiologically and they work psychologically. So physiologically, when we apply an essential oil to, our skin, for example, diluted, we never want to apply it just a drop on our skin without anything. We want to dilute it with, coconut oil or sweet almond oil or something like that, just to help it absorb better in the skin. When we do that, that essential oil is then absorbed in the skin into the bloodstream. It can help alleviate that pain because a lot of essential oils have these anti-inflammatory properties. A lot of other essential oils as well have like a cooling sensation when we apply them to our skin. Peppermint, for example, is really high in menthol, which is a constituent known to just have that cooling sensation when applied. Other essential oils like wintergreen, for example, is high in methyl salicylate, which also has that cooling sensation. Clove is another example. It's very commonly used in dentistry because it contains eugenol. So eugenol has not only those great antibacterial properties for dentistry, but also has that numbing effect. So that's kind of the physiological effect. The psychological effect is when we smell an aroma that we find pleasant. We smell it, goes into our olfactory receptors, it travels up into the brain, and then it enters into the limbic system, which is our emotional command center, which contains our amygdala, which is in charge of our stress response and our behaviors and our motivations. And a smell is literally one of the only senses that is so directly connected with our limbic system. So it can really help just like calm us. So if we can address, both that physical manifestation as well as smelling a calming essential oil, it can really help just manage and alleviate that pain.
So you talked about peppermint and clove, and wintergreen, was it? Physiologically, putting onto the skin diluted. And then you've talked about psychologically the sense of smell, that it's the only sense directly connected to breath and to the emotional part of our brain. How what sort of oils could somebody sniff for that?
Yeah. So the most important thing I always say is, because everybody wants to know, which essential oil should I use for anxiety, or which essential oil should I use for stress, or which essential oil for pain? I always say, well, what aromas do you like? It is so important that we choose an essential oil that we find aromatically pleasant. Because if we don't, say you don't love the smell of lavender and you smell it and you're like, ooh, doesn't smell good, that could facilitate, additional stress response within the body. So always choose an essential oil that first you find pleasant. And there's so many different essential oils that have a beautiful effect with our nervous system. Lavender, lavender is one of the most common. Everybody knows about lavender. It's really gentle, easy to use. A lot of people enjoy the aroma. It calms the nervous system. It reduces stress. I mean, there's been so many studies on it, just having a benefit for anxiety and relieving anxiety. That's a great one. Eucalyptus is another wonderful essential oil. It's invigorating. It's also calming. It has this almost like a little bit of a cooling effect. This is why it's so commonly used in spas and massage. Chamomile is another great one. So Roman chamomile has great antispasmodic properties, as well as, it's anti-inflammatory essential oil, but it also smells good. It's very, very, very calming. It's great for children. They love chamomile. I actually diffused chamomile and lavender in my kids' rooms last night, and all of them slept so well. Bergamot is another great essential oil. There's so many essential oils. So bergamot, if you drink Earl Grey tea, then you already have this like memory scent association with bergamot. And when you smell it, like, oh, it just like, I love Earl Grey tea. Those London fog lattes are so good. But bergamot essential oil is also really calming for the nervous system, can help reduce just the stress response in relation to stress. Clary sage is another great essential oil. Vetiver. I mean, if someone likes more of like those woodsy aromas, spruce is a great one for like stress-induced tension. A lot of people have a positive memory scent association with like Christmas trees and the holidays. So spruce is a really great one to kind of help alleviate that. I know, especially for me growing up on a Christmas tree farm, I always love the tree oils. So pine and spruce and fir. A lot of people enjoy just those forest aromas as well.
Brilliant. So lots of oils there. We've got lavender, eucalyptus, chamomile, bergamot, spruce, and lots of others as well.
Yes.
If somebody who is in pain and stressed and anxious, they go along and they choose some oils that they like the smell of, how often do they use them? How often should they use them, and when?
That's a great question. So, I mean, if we're using something to support pain, I would say as needed. Really, I mean, you can't, essential oils are so gentle. I wouldn't say you can't overdo it because potentially you could, but when we're using them by just smelling them or applying to our skin and not ingesting them, I mean, typically you could use them as needed several times a day. And just take that moment and kind of reduce that stress in different ways. So as far as different ways to use them, I mean, the best way to use them for pain, and I know this sounds crazy because I think we tend to overcomplicate a lot of things, is just to smell them. I actually broke my shoulder blade this summer, just cracked it right in half. And it was probably one of the most intense injuries I've had for a while. And I was so amazed by aromatherapy because I made like a pain salve with aromatherapy and applied it, and that really helped. But what helped the most was like just opening up a bottle of lavender and smelling it for a couple minutes. And then I would do like a 5-minute meditation. Every single time I did this, didn't matter day or night, middle of the day, whenever I did it, when I got done with that meditation, I had zero pain every single time, which I mean, and it would last for a couple hours and I'd be like, okay, like I need something a little bit now again. But it was amazing how when I would finish, like that mind-body connection. So if we can help reduce that stress and anxiety, especially circulating around that pain, it has such a huge benefit for the body. So inhalation is a huge one. Diffusing essential oils is very popular and can be really useful for people. So get ultrasonic diffuser. There's so many different ones out there, and adding, a couple of drops of, lavender or bergamot or whatever aroma that you find really aromatically pleasing and putting it in and just making this tranquil environment to help your body relax. Other ways to use essential oils, you can apply them. Like if you have a headache, you can apply them topically. So diluted, maybe a little bit of peppermint or lavender, eucalyptus, like on your temples if you have a headache, or your back of your neck. Give yourself a little neck massage or shoulder massage. Like self-massage is really healing, even if you don't have anyone else to do it. I love to just grab juniper and put some on my hand with a little bit of a tablespoon of coconut oil or jojoba oil and just rub my hands together, give myself a little self massage. Oh, because you're breathing in those pleasant aromas, but also that essential oil is targeting those areas of pain and reducing some of that inflammation. We can use some of these essential oils in the warm bath by adding them to the bath gel and then adding that to the water. You can add also some Epsom salts with that, which is really calming. A scented bath is so much more relaxing than an unscented bath. I stay in there 10 times longer if it smells good because I don't want to get out, and I feel so much more relaxed. Even just adding, a drop of lavender to your pillow at nighttime, if you're tossing and turning because you're in pain, can really just help kind of calm you down. My mother-in-law actually was just released from the hospital for really intense back pain. And I loved seeing that her hospital had these aroma tabs. So it's basically like a little sticker that they stick on the gown, but they use lavender on hers. So they just put a drop of lavender on the sticker and they used it at nighttime. And she said, of all the days that I was there, I always slept the best the days that I had that aroma tab on my gown. It's something so simple, like adding a drop of lavender to your gown if you're in the hospital, or your pillow at home, can be just so helpful to relax the mind. And when the mind is relaxed, then the body can then relax.
That's what I wanted to come back to, because you said you broke your shoulder, which must be incredibly painful. Whenever you break a bone, it's really painful. And you said that just sniffing lavender really help with the pain? What was actually going on in your body? What actually goes on when you're smoking it?
Yeah. So when you smell an essential oil like lavender, it triggers those olfactory receptors, which then travel up the pyramidal cortex, which then go into your limbic system. And the amygdala then can initiate this relaxation response. So from there, your heart rate slows down, your breathing slows down. There's been studies that your brain then releases endorphins, which are our body's natural pain relievers. So they make us feel good, but also serotonin and dopamine can be released. Several studies that have shown the essential oils can do this. And you feel just this sense of calm within you. It's almost like I feel like a lot of our pain response is so related to our thoughts and what we're thinking. And I mean, when you're in pain, that's all you can think about. Like anyone that's been in a lot of pain, like we hold our breath and we are tense, and that's all, like we can't think about anything else but that pain, and it impacts just our emotions and our moods. But when we actually breathe in an essential oil then as well, our olfactory system is so directly connected with our breath. So if I'm breathing in an essential oil, I automatically want to take deeper breaths. When we're in pain, I know this from taking care of so many trauma patients, the first thing they do is they hold their breath or they take really short, shallow breaths. That's how, like, the number one way that I can tell if a patient's in pain, because they just aren't breathing. They're just so tense. When we're breathing in an essential oil, like, we automatically want to take deeper breaths because we want to smell it more because it smells good. And that just helps breathe into the lower lungs, which are rich in those parasympathetic nervous receptors, which just helps stimulate just this relaxation response.
I think a lot of viewers tuning in can really relate to that. I mean, I got a background in chronic pain. I had chronic pain for 15 years. And when you're in pain, that kind of dominates your life, doesn't it? Especially if you've gone like I did. I went down the medical route and it didn't work. And I think a lot of people tuning in have probably tried medication, all that kind of thing. You tend to contract, hold your breath, and actually make it worse. I made my pain far worse by all my contraction and pulling in. And I can see just in your face when you're smelling the oil, just everything seems to open up. So I can imagine it open up the body and bring the body back into balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw it when my stepdad was battling liver cancer and in the hospital, and I went to visit him, and he just liver patients in general just struggle. I mean, just mentally, the ammonia levels are all over the place. They just really struggle, and he couldn't sleep, and he was in pain. And I had a little handheld diffuser, and I put black spruce in it, and he was like, I'll try it, and I watched him push the button, hold it up to his face. And immediately I saw his face just relax. And it's going to make me cry just remembering this moment, because I was like, I knew it was going to happen, but it's so amazing just to see it in person. I saw his face just kind of just relax at 30 seconds. All it was just 30 seconds of diffusing it. And within 5 minutes after that, he fell asleep and he was snoring so restfully. And I thought, wow. After everything these nurses have given you, after all of the things that you have taken, that's all it took was just to relax your mind and help relax your body. It was pretty amazing to watch.
And I remember talking about that story before, and I can see the emotions coming up. But he didn't particularly believe in oils, did he? But
no, not really. No, I mean, he wasn't.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're in those situations, you're like, oh, I'll just try anything, whatever will help me, There's actually a really cool study that was released this year that they did in the emergency room, and they had 250 patients, and it was like a placebo-controlled study. So it was a pretty big size study, 250 patients. And it was a randomized control, and they found that it actually reduced not only the pain, but the amount of opioids consumed by those patients. So it's pretty amazing. Like, so many studies have shown this, which is why so many more hospitals are starting to utilize aromatherapy.
Yeah, you said there's been a lot of research coming out in the past 5 years, and that's brilliant to hear that there's a lot more hospitals that are using essential oils. That's in the US. Is that how is that in the rest of the world? I don't really know how.
Well, it depends on hospital by hospital because it's really difficult to get funding. A lot of hospitals don't have a lot of extra funding. And it also depends on the specific units. So generally, a hospital will have to pay out of their own income in that unit to afford the aromatherapy. Although, to be honest, aromatherapy is not crazy expensive compared to a lot of the other things, but it's not covered by insurance in the United States anyways. I'm not sure about other countries, but I highly doubt it. I think, though, as we continue to get more clinical studies, there may be more potential for extra funding to come because some of the research has just been incredible. I mean, there was a study done over with 10,000 patients across 10 US hospitals that showed that aromatherapy is extremely beneficial for labor and delivery patients, as well as pre-op and post-operative patients. So I'm not sure about the rest of the world. I know it kind of depends on the hospital, exactly where you're located, because I've heard both that some hospitals are great and some are not. And that's the same where I live. I know I work with 2 hospitals now, but I know there's 2 other hospitals that don't use it at all. So it kind of just varies.
What's fabulous, like you say, is that it's a really cost-effective way of finding a natural solution to your pain and anxiety. And I just want to loop back. We were talking about lavender, which I love. I put lavender on my pillow if I'm having trouble sleeping. Are there, when someone's in pain, when they're stressed, they often are not sleeping. Is there anything else that can help with sleep?
Oh, goodness. So I'm always a huge advocate for, taking an aromatic bath before you go to bed, or even if you're not a bath person, if you don't own a bath, which I know a lot of people don't, a foot bath can be just as helpful because anytime we're in like warm water and we're also using the calming essential oils, it can help stimulate the production of melatonin, because our bodies naturally drop in temperature as the evening comes. And we can actually kind of trick our bodies into this drop in core body temperature by taking a bath at nighttime. So that can be really soothing, and adding essential oils to a foot bath or even to the shower, adding a couple drops of lavender to the shower floor while you take a shower. Oh my gosh, it smells so amazing in the shower that you won't want to get out. So it's so calming and restful. But also, I forgot the question. Can you go? What was the question again? Sorry.
I was asking about sleep, and you.
Oh, sleep. Kind of was going on. Thank you.
And I was just dreaming of getting into my bath tonight because it's night time here. I think we both.
Yes.
Different talents, but yeah.
I know. Okay. Besides taking, an aromatic bath or shower, I was kind of getting entranced into that because it sounds so good right now. We can diffuse at nighttime. It can be really helpful just to get the diffuser going, 30 minutes before bedtime while you're doing your bedtime routine and brushing your teeth or whatnot. That way, when you enter into the room, your brain associates that aroma with bedtime. So it knows what to expect next. And that can be really calming to the mind and the body. Adding that drop of lavender to the pillow. There's so many other, if you don't like lavender, chamomile, bergamot, frankincense, orange, marjoram. There's so many other essential oils, spruce, hinoki, that are really great essential oils to use at bedtime as well.
Just before we come to the end of our chat today, do you have an action point that people can put into place straight away? You've already said we can take a bath tonight with our oils or add lavender to our shower, but what's an action point somebody could take that's going to help either with the pain or with the stress?
I think to notice when your body is holding on to tension or pain. I feel like a lot of the times we often kind of deny it and keep going about our day and doing our things, and then it just gets worse. So taking that moment, noticing, oh, I am in pain. I do have this headache. And then just grabbing that essential oil that you love, that you find aromatically pleasing, and just smelling it, taking those couple minutes, taking those slow, deep breaths in and out, holding it a few inches below your nose. You don't even have to put it on anything or do anything, just grabbing just the bottle. Such a cost-effective way. You're not even using any of it. You're just smelling it and just breathing it in. Analyze that aroma. What does it smell like? What's happening within your body? I love to do a self-scan. So as I'm smelling it, I'll kind of scan from my head slowly down to my toes. Just notice if I'm holding tension anywhere and just kind of let the body release it, as well as my mind. If my mind is really busy, there's a lot of like chatter going on, just let it release it. And we can tune into our sense of smell. Our bodies naturally do this. Our minds naturally do this. It can really just help alleviate a lot of that pain that we're holding on to, not only physically, but emotionally as well.
Yeah, that's a brilliant action point, because I think, as you quite rightly said, we tend to, especially in today's world, we tend to get on with it. Even if we're in pain, even if we're stressed, we've got all these deadlines, we've got the children to pick up, whatever, we carry on with it. And what you've just run through, it's so quick, isn't it? It's so quick. And just taking that time to stop, take your essential oil and scan your body. It can make such a huge amount of difference, can't it? And I know one of the things you empower people to do is to take ownership of their health, isn't it?
Yeah. I never regret grabbing an essential oil when I'm feeling like that, but I always regret not doing it sooner, regardless of what it is. I'm like, why didn't I do this an hour ago while I was battling with it? Why did I keep going? Like, why didn't I just take that 1 minute and reset? It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, when you're calmer and when you're in less pain, everything is much easier. So just taking that little time to slow down and taking that sniff of the essential oil, you're going to have a better day, aren't you? Things are going to be easier.
Yes.
And push through. And like you say, you always regret not using it earlier.
Yeah. And the other thing too, what I think when I have people that are like, oh, it's hard for me just to stop and do that or remember to do that, I always say, you know what? Like, set an alarm on your phone and set it for, maybe 3 times today. And I've done this with my aromatherapy students, and I love their testimonies about it. Because when your phone goes off and it says, take a whiff or whatever they have it saying, it reminds them, oh, I'm going to stop and I'm going to do this. And it's amazing to see how just that 1 minute can linger on for hours after, just improving your mood. So set that timer if you're someone that just really struggles, especially if you like it's stress, in general. If you have a stressful part of your day coming up, maybe you get often triggered from morning traffic or afternoon traffic driving, or your kids coming home from school, like set a timer for, 15 minutes before that, and just take that moment and breathe it in and notice how it impacts you. Like, you go into that part of your day so much more calmer and just recharged and refreshed. And it's pretty amazing to do that.
I love that. So anyone watching, set your phone for several times in the day and take a whiff. I love that. Thanks so much for coming on today, Holly. It's always fantastic to chat to you. Do you have any last words before we finish?
Last words. So I just want to encourage everyone to remember that, 75% of our emotions we generate on a daily basis are impacted by the smells around us. 75% it's estimated, which is a huge amount. So just as you go about your days, take a moment and pay attention to how smells impact you. Like when you're on a walk and you smell, that cypress and you're like, oh, that smells so good. Just linger in that moment for a little bit longer and smell it and enjoy it. Maybe it's chocolate chip cookies baking or something else that you're making. Just take a moment and just savor that, because that really has a huge effect on your emotional health.
That is an amazing statistic. I had no idea that 75% of our emotions are impacted by smells. That's huge.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, both positive and negative, I mean, I'll notice like if something's burning, I'll be like, kind of makes me a little bit crabby or whatnot. There's different smells, especially, taking a walk outside or pollution and things like that. You'll notice how they just kind of make your body react in different ways and your mind react in different ways. So always just try to seek out those aromatically pleasant ones that you enjoy and just kind of linger in them and notice how they impact you as you go about your day.
Fabulous last words, Holly. Thanks so much for being with us today. And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in.